Grand Slam Club Ovis introduced an award to the big game hunting world in 2002 that is simply known as the Ovis. The first recipient was the late Donald Cox of Michigan, and he certainly exemplified the prestige that this award would gain over time. Counting 2002, this will be the 15th person to receive the Ovis. There's no argument that mountain hunting is the toughest type of big game hunting, period. Yes, there are difficult hunts like the rainforest of Africa, and almost any hunt can turn into a tough one. But overall, mountain hunting stands alone as the most difficult endeavor. The Ovis was conceived to recognize individuals who have had an overwhelming passion for hunting the mountains and doing so in fair chase and with total integrity. There's no application process for the Ovis. Each recipient's already earned the respect of their peers for their accomplishments as both hunter and conservationist. There's no doubt that the 14 previous recipients have all fit that criteria. Obviously, this year's recipient is once again highly qualified. Realize that he can be seen among the nominees whose photos you see on the screen. There are some new faces within the nominees, so we want to leave them up for a moment for you to see those who have climbed the mountains and documented their achievements with GSCO. And of course, we have shared all their exploits with our membership in the Slam Quest publication. The recipient of the 2016 Ovis is Gary Rigotti of Eagle Point, Oregon. Gary, please begin making your way to the stage. Over the years, we've had 2 or 3 recipients of the Ovis who simply dedicated themselves to the mountains for practically 90% of their hunting time. Gary Rigotti joins that rank, as his passion has run extremely deep. Africa and some of the other continents have called, but Gary refused to listen to that call because his hunting world, for all practical purposes, revolved around a sheep or capra hunt regardless of the continent. You've already seen several of the trophies Gary Rigotti has taken. He completed his first Grand Slam, number 742, in 1997, but has gone on to a second one and has 4 additional North American Rams besides. Gary's taken all of the huntable snow sheep, including the newly recognized Chukotka snow sheep. As for the Argalis, he has all of those that are huntable. He was wise enough to hunt in China before it closed, and he may be the only person to have all 4 different blue sheep from that country, including the dwarf and Helan Shan that was recognized just a year before China was closed to hunting, and even the Himalayan blue sheep from there. As for the mouflons, Gary has several European varieties from various locations. Not only has the Armenian mouflon from West Texas, but one from Iran as well. Gary also took an Esfahan mouflon in Iran, and as you would expect, he has the Konya mouflon from Turkey and was one of the first people to take one free range. Now moving along to the Urials, we find that Gary has all of those, with 3 from Pakistan and a Transcaspian Urial from Turkmenistan from back in 2003, before that country was closed to hunting. The transition species between sheep and goats are the Turs. Yes, Gary has all 3 of them and has even been to Azerbaijan twice to get 2 Dagestan Eastern Turs there. Now for his capra hunts. He has an American mountain goat and all the chamois except the low Tatra, but he does have the newly added chartreuse chamois. Moving to the ibex, we find that Gary has all of those except the Nubian ibex of Sudan. There are, of course, some others Gary has, such as the Mallorcan wild goat and the Bezor and Cri-Cri hybrids, as well as some feral goats from around the world. Without counting actual numbers, we've mentioned enough to let you know that Gary is a mountain hunter. It appears that he'll be even listed as one of the just over a handful of recipients of the Ovis Super 40 after some more research is done. Yes, of course, he has the Capra World Slam Super 30 and several above that number too. Is Gary Rigotti a committed long-term conservationist and a man of highest integrity in all aspects of life, including hunting? You betcha. You probably have noticed SCI President Larry Higgins in some of the photos that you've seen. He and Larry have hunted many of their mountain animals together, and we've secretly asked Larry to the stage to help present the Ovis this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please join with us as we honor Gary Rigotti as the 2016 recipient of the Ovis.
Gary, would you like to say a few words?
This is quite an honor. I have to admit I am very surprised. I am very humble. Few words is that I came from a family that did not hunt. My father and my mother, and about 22, when I was about 22 years, I went into the service, and I went into basic training. I was in the National Guards, and probably up to that point, I probably shot a BB gun. And so they handed me a M1 grenade, not a M1 Grand, 30-06. And they said, learn how to clean it and all that. And long story short, I kind of liked hunting. And I can't remember, I think there was 240 recruits. And we had to go to qualify. And it was from 50 meters to 500 meters, pop-up targets. And I really enjoyed that. I thought, you know, that's just quite neat doing this. And about a week later, they had like a banquet, and I think there was about 240 recruits there. And it was 7th highest. Wow, I really thought that was cool. And I said, you know, I want to be a hunter. So when I got home, my uncle, my mother had a brother that was a cowboy. His name was Elmo. So I went up there and I told my uncle, I says, I want to learn how to hunt. I says, I want to learn how to pack string. I want to learn how to go into wilderness areas. And I says, I want to do it the old-fashioned way. I wanted to do it like in the 1800s. Show me how to pack, throw a diamond hitch. And so that's how I got my start. And I went with my uncle on into the Eagle Cap Wilderness area, and that's where I started to hunt the elk and so forth. And about 15 years later, he was dying. And he asked me on his deathbed, he says, what would you like to have from me? Anything? And I said, I don't want to talk about that. I says, you know, Unc, if there's something, I said, I'd like to have your cowboy hat. And that's where the cowboy hat came from. And I says, I will take this cowboy hat on all my hunts from now on. And in honor of you and respect for you, when I got my trophy, I says, I will wear the cowboy hat. And it was just kind of sad that he couldn't be there when I drew my first tag for a sheep in Oregon in 1991. So I went on my first sheep hunt. I always wanted to hunt sheep. Down deep inside, I wanted to hunt a sheep. I read Jack O'Connor's magazine, you know, articles, and Elgin Gates, and I finally drew one in Oregon. I applied 17 years, I believe, and I finally drew the tag in Oregon, once in a lifetime sheep tag. And I went over there about 3 or 4 different times to scout the country, and I realized that you couldn't use any horses. It was just impossible. I went on my back. The bottom line is, I think there was 10 hunters, and I was the last one on the mountain. The last day, and 2 hours before it got dark, I shot my ram, an old broom ram. And I always look back at that, and I thought, what would I have done if I didn't get this sheep? And I thought, you know, I was a sheep hunter starting from then. I had the sheep bug. And I don't know, I believe it was about 1996 when I got my Grand Slam, or 1997. And I was going on another Dall sheep hunt. And my late wife, Joy, said to me one day, she says, why are you going to hunt those sheep? I mean, why are you going to hunt another Dall? You already shot one. And I said, I just like to shoot, I just like to hunt sheep. She says, Rudy being my middle name, she says, Rudy, go get all 40 sheep of the world. And I looked at her and I says, are you in marijuana or something? Or I said, you got too much wine you're drinking or something? She says, no, Rudy, go get the 40 sheep of the world. Do something that is special. Do it for me. Do it. Next day I went back and I asked her, I said, you're serious? And she says, yes, I'm serious. Do it. And that started me to go get the 40 sheep of the world. I had made up my mind that this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to get 40 sheep of the world. And so then in 2001, I met the famous Larry Boyd Higgins. And we were going to go hunt the Chinese blue sheep. And what a pleasure that was, because what a friend, what a partner. And we've been on so many hunts after that. And he kept me going. Getting back to my late wife, Joy. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. She made Gary Rigotti a sheep hunter. And Joy was a very beautiful person from the outside, but she was a very beautiful person from the inside. And thank you, Joy, for giving me that push. Then in 2005, things went. I lost my wife and I lost my daughter, and Larry and Cindy picked me up. Another man was Dave Murrup. And then in 1997, which I didn't think I was ever going to get married again, but met another beautiful woman. Her name is Yvonne Dunn Rigotti. And in 2013, she says to me, she says, Gary, Joy wanted you to get all the sheep, 40 sheep of the world. She says, why don't you do me a favor? I've been looking at your Capra. And she says, you only got 24. So why don't you do me a favor and get 30 goats of the world. And I said, that's a good idea. And so I started to get back, and in 2014 I got on our 30 goats of the world. And I say to you that I'm a very lucky man, very lucky. I'm the luckiest man in this room. That Yvonne is another beautiful woman. She is very beautiful from the outside, and she's very beautiful from the inside. And with all her support, I've had a very full life. I also thank you, dear. I love you. I like to say that being up on the stage, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the outfitters that I went with. They are a part of this. They helped me on the way, and it would be too long to name everybody because I would forget somebody, then I would offend somebody. So I say to all the outfitters, thank you very much for what you've done for me. And it was not an I type thing, it was we. Thank you very much, all you outfitters, for your help. Last but not least, I would like to thank OVIS, the committee, whoever picks the OVIS award winner. Thank you very much. I'm very humbled, and I'm very gracious. Thank you very much.